Ladies and gentlemen, I never thought that one day I'd be making this video, because like all of you, for almost 6 years now, I was forced to accept the reality that this would simply never happen. That this wonderful, magical story that we all know and love was at a dead end that would never continue. I was forced to accept, like all of you, the reality that we would never again return to Pendergast School of Elemental Magics. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have the biggest fucking smile on my face right now, because I am here today to tell you that we were wrong. A few weeks ago, Choices announced a competition called Choose Your Sequel, where Choices players could play through chapters from 2 of Choice's most beloved franchises, and the series that had the most chapters completed would get a brand new 8-chapter sequel. Now, one of the series within the competition was Endless Summer, which really shouldn't have been one of the contenders, because not only did Endless Summer have an ending, whereas the other entry in the competition very much didn't, it had a multiple choice ending, with Endless Summer having 3 possible endings to choose from. And Choices even said that if Endless Summer won, they'd literally just make one of the endings canon and go from there, which completely ruins the point of having a multiple choice ending. It's exactly the same reason why Detroit Become Human will never have a second game, because there's literally no point in having a story where you have multiple endings and then doing a sequel and being like, oh, well, only one of those endings actually happened. It just really ruins the whole point. However, I'm actually glad that Endless Summer was one of the options, because due to the fact that literally no one wanted Endless Summer Book 4, that gave people more incentive to vote for the alternative. And for those of you who don't know, I'm sure you've probably guessed, the alternative was a series that ended not on a cliffhanger, but definitely before it should have done. My personal favorite Choices series of all time, The Elementalists. The story of your main character getting thrust into the magical world of Pendergast School of Elemental Magics and the incredible magical journey that they went on. Now, as I mentioned on the quick little video I made on the It Lives personality quiz, Choices thought it would be funny to end the competition on the 9th, but not actually announce the results until the 16th. And despite the fact that it was said for the regular updates for the competition that the Elementalists had basically been in the lead the entire time, I was still a little bit worried, because having gone from spending literal years having literally no hope that the Elementalists was ever gonna continue, to having potential hope, and then the idea that I could go from that to having to watch Endless Summer get a pointless sequel, yeah, that made me a little bit tense over that week. But a week ago, the 16th finally arrived. And I want to make the point that this video should have been out the next day, but I couldn't record the video on the day because they waited forever to put the fucking announcement out. And even though they're in California, they've put announcements out at 5 PM UK time before, and yet this time they happened to wait until like 11 o'clock at night. But regardless, I was literally in the middle of an Oblivion stream, checking the blog every now and then, and eventually the post popped up. Now, if you want to see my full reaction, then I'll leave a time-stamped link in the description to the original stream, just below the link to the casual Discord, which you should join if you don't want to miss any future Choices content or any of my other videos or live streams, as you'll get automatically pinged whenever I upload or go live if you join that Discord. But I'll leave a link to the live stream time-stamped at when the reaction started, but honestly, I think this clip says it all. It doesn't say without clicking on it. Oh god, my heart just started pounding. Choices Rewind, winner revealed. You spoke and we listened. Now see which fan favorite series will get a new sequel later this year. Was it Endless Summer? Or The Elementalists? Yes! We're getting it! Oh my god! The Elementalists won! Yes! We're going back! Oh, I don't believe it! Oh, yes! Oh, I'm so glad that they announced it while I was streaming. Yes! That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Elementalists Book 3 is now officially confirmed! We're going back, baby! We're going back to Pendergast! It's official! Almost 6 years after we got the last book, which was obviously the Elementalist Christmas special, we are finally going back to Pendergast! And I am so fucking excited, because for 6 years the Elementalist was buried in the darkest depths of my memory as something that came and went, something that was over, something that I would never again get to experience fresh. But you know what they say, good things come to those who wait, and Lord knows we've waited long enough. So I'd like to actually go onto the blog post and have a bit of a read of some quotes from some of the people that are gonna be working on it. So everyone, here we are on the Pixelberry Studios blog page, and on the post specifically, here it is, Choices Rewind, winner revealed, and the winner is the Elementalists. Yes! Now, a lot of people within the Choices community were worried that regardless of which sequel we were gonna get, it wasn't gonna be good because we weren't gonna have any of the original writers back. Well, fortunately, there's some stuff in this post and another post that I'll get to in a second that puts those worries to bed. Now, one of the most exciting things about this is that the lead writer for the Choices Rewind sequel, so that would have been either of them that this person was gonna be the lead writer for, is someone named Emmy, who was revealed in a blog post a couple of weeks back, who is actually hired to write The Elementalist. So the lead writer for this sequel is someone who has had hands-on experience with The Elementalist since the fucking start. And not only that, they're the one that made the attunement quiz. And according to them, apparently even to this day, we haven't actually properly figured it out yet. I might have to do a video seeing if I can change that. But honestly, when I read that, I was so relieved that Book 3 was gonna be in good hands. And they're not the only one working on this, obviously. I'm not gonna go through all of them because some of these aren't really necessary to talk about or interesting. But we have Kelly here, Choices artist for 10 years, who worked on Book 1 and 2 of The Elementalist. They were rooting for The Elementalist to win. The potential for more story and follow through with some of the plot threads left on the table was always with The Elementalist. Love both stories, but happy for The Elementalists and the Pen Pals to get a sequel. We have Richard, who is a Choices QA for 8 years. I was rooting for The Elementalists. I love me a magic school story. Me too, Richard. Me too. I love both series, but I know the Elementalist team always had more story planned beyond the awesome adventure they gave us in books 1 and 2, which again is going off the point that Endless Summer really shouldn't have been part of this, because the story was done. It was finished. Whereas there was so much more the Elementalists had to give us, and making another Endless Summer book really would have been dragging it out. Whereas fans of the Elementalists have always said that it should have had more books. Or at least, you know, one more book. I'm really excited to see Emmy, one of the original Elementalist writers, continue the series and take us back to Pendergast. Okay, not to be negative here, but I have to read this out. Trina, Choices player support for 8 years. To be honest, I would have been happy either way since I'd already come to terms with both series ending, and having to repeat that news to players for years. That's a really weird thing to say. That's basically saying, oh yeah, those of you who wanted the Elementalists back, well, I've already come to terms with the ending, so you should too. Even though we really didn't get a satisfying ending for the Elementalists. Anyway, Anna, Choice's product manager for 3 years. Speaking of, yo, Choices, where the hell did your merch store go? I finally actually wanted to buy some Elementalist stuff, and you randomly got rid of the merch store. What happened there? But Anna says that there'll always be a Pendergast alum at heart, and cannot wait for another entry in the Elementalist series. Christine, Choice's art producer for 4 years. I really enjoy magic books. They're so fun to work on, especially with developing the look of the outfits, backgrounds, and characters. Brandon, Choice's engineer for 3 years. I was more invested in our community being invested than I was in either book, to be honest. Well, why include that quote then? I'm just saying, like, you don't have to include quotes from people who clearly have, like, zero interest in either of these book franchises. Heather, Choice's artist for 10+ years. Jesus Christ, Heather's an OG. I don't think anyone will be surprised here. I was rooting for the Elementalists, but I love how many fans voted to bring it back. I loved the amazing world that Kelly created for both book 1 and 2, and her vision for the world. I love the characters, and I've often wished we could go back to the world of Pendergast. I have so many questions. What's it like to suddenly have a twin you'd never known about, or to find you have magical powers? I can't wait to hear what happens next. Erin, Choice's QA for 9 years. Oh, wonderful. I worked on all those books and I was rooting for the Elementalists since it didn't get a proper ending, while Endless Summer got 3. Yes, Erin! You are spitting facts! Good on you, Erin, you're speaking facts. Michelle, Choice's general manager for only 1 year. I'm excited to see what Emmy cooks up, and based on the chatter on social media, I think the correct series won, since we were not able to finish the series originally. And this is interesting. I really want to dig into why it never happened, because the final quote is from Chelsea, book lead on the Elementalists and Choice's writer for 9 years. Finally, the time has come. So, a lot of people here are people that have worked on the Elementalists prior. And for those of you who don't know, the Elementalists was supposed to have a book 3, but it got cancelled. So, I don't know why it got cancelled, because clearly a decent amount of the people that worked on the originals are still working at Choices. So, why did they cancel it? Then again, you could question that for the numerous Choices books that got cancelled that we all wanted a sequel for. Distant Shores, Ride or Die, the It Lives series, and about a million others. So, I really don't know why that happened, but the really exciting thing is that we actually know what the plot is going to be. And better still, it's the original plot from the planned book 3. So in this segment of the interview with Emmy, they were talking about their concepts for what the 2 sequels could be, and when asked about the Elementalists, they talked about how the High Attuned, which is basically the leader of the whole magical world, needs to choose a successor, and her options, which is interesting because I don't recall us ever actually learning about the High Attuned, or like actually meeting them, although I could be wrong because it has been a very long time since I've read the Elementalists. Oh shit, no, we did meet her. Okay, that was at the end of book 2. Yeah, I faintly remember that now. Oh, that's gonna be sick then. She says that she'll keep an eye on both of... Yeah, okay. So basically book 3 was gonna be her choosing between Atlas and you to be her successor, and she intends to pit you against one another in a series of challenges, but it will be up to you whether or not this drives a wedge between you and your twin. And honestly, given that we can't really get more high octane than what we had in the previous book, although one idea I had for a book 4 actually would have gone in an even crazier, like more powerful direction than the events of book 2 did, I do think that is a satisfying satisfying way to end off the series with a book that is seemingly going to be focused more around the actual magical world itself, which we didn't really get to see much of, and the sort of ending of your character and the life that they're gonna live after the books are done. And here's the quote from Chelsea, the director of writing, which was apparently only revealed in 2024, the whole thing about book 3, that it had been cancelled in the planning stages. Why though? But the quote reads as, "You can't have a magical school story without a chosen one or wands," which we technically already had anyway. And in book 3, Eli, in brackets MC, and Atlas would have found themselves pitted against each other to become the once-in-a-generation high-attuned, the one-attuned ruling over the magical world. I don't want to give absolutely everything away in case I ever need it, but I can say it was going to be absolutely devastating. Okay, well I guess the time has come then, and the Elementalists book 3 now holds a pretty cool title, in that it is the first and currently only Choices book to have been cancelled before resuming production at a later date. Ladies and gentlemen, the Elementalists is back from the ashes, and some people are still a bit like, about it being only an 8-chapter book, but I don't think it's impossible for that to change at a later date. But even if it doesn't, I'm happy that we're getting it regardless. I think it's ungrateful to, look a gift horse in the mouth at this point, because I'd much rather have a slightly shorter book 3 than not have a book 3 at all, especially considering that it's being made by people who worked on the previous books. And speaking of that, obviously we've all been a little miffed about everything going on with Choices and AI nowadays, but it's really interesting that a lot of the people talking on this post are actually Choices artists, so hopefully they don't go too far into the AI route with this book, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. And to end on a positive note, they put this out on Twitter 3 days ago. The Elementalists 3 chat with Emmy and Chelsea. Fuck yes, baby, we're back! So everyone, that was a video talking about the Elementalists Book 3, which is now confirmed and being made at Choices right now, which means I finally have a reason to get back to my playthrough of the Elementalists, so that when Book 3 launches in 2026, I'll be ready. So if you don't want to miss any future Choices videos, including my playthrough of the Elementalists, and any of my live streams, including my live playthrough of the It Live series, then go join the casual Discord in the description down below if you want to be automatically notified whenever I upload or go live. Leave a comment on who or what you're most excited to see in the Elementalists Book 3, and I will see you on another video or stream very, very soon. Goodbye, everyone.